said, Secretary Hammack, about gauging the MILCON as you go based on these decisions that are going to be made. I've expressed, I think, pretty publicly that I am concerned that we have spent so much on military construction in Germany, and then the announcement was made that we were going to reverse an earlier decision by a previous administration to leave 2 BCTs in Germany, instead have 3. And I look at the GAO reports. The GAO said that when the decision was made to keep 2 and bring 2 home, that it would save as millions, and they estimated that it would cost nearly $2 billion more from fiscal years 2012 to 21 to retain the 2 brigades in Europe than it would cost to return them to the United States. The GAO also said that they were concerned about the lack of comprehensive cost data that the Army used when they were doing their theater plans, their theater posture plans. And they said that of the $17 billion obligated by the services to support installations in Europe from 2006 to 2009, approximately $13 billion was for operations and maintenance. So my question is, how do you factor in the added costs of new military construction in Germany and the operations and maintenance costs on top of that when the GAO and others have said that you could save so much more by keeping with the original decision to bring the 2 BCTs back and not doing that added military construction and then keeping the operations and maintenance? And I would ask either you or General Boozer.
In Germany, in Europe, we've been working on consolidation, and we've been working to reduce our footprint. In the last 5 years, we've closed 91 sites and returned 23,000 acres to the German government. Over the next 5 years, we plan to close 29 sites and return 7,000 acres to the German government. In doing so, some of the facilities that we're closing are aging facilities that cost a lot to operate and maintain and cost a lot to sustain. So as we consolidate into the other facilities, by building new, it is reducing our costs for operations and maintenance in those facilities that we need to remain in.
General, did you have some to add?
Yes, ma'am, if I could, Senator. Thank you. Ma'am, I mean, you're correct, absolutely correct. It is more expensive to operate, build, and maintain a force, sustain a force in Europe, vice back here in the United States. And Secretary Hammack pointed out some of the ways we have to try to mitigate that is through these consolidation and efficiency efforts that are still ongoing. U.S. Army Europe, now based on this most recent decision, we'll have to look, are there more efficiencies and more consolidations that can take place? Senator Kirk mentioned Bomberg and Schweinfurt. So clearly, U.S. Army Europe and the Army, the department's going to have to look at that very, very closely to see if there's more efficiencies to be garnered. There's some things that even though more expensive, hard to put a price tag on, of the benefits that are reaped by having a force over there. What the right size is, I think is still under discussion, but the benefit of having a force there that can partner, build alliances, and the training value that our soldiers get by operating in a multinational environment. Very hard to put a price tag on that.
Well, General, let me just make a couple of points. Germany was supposed to be the lead for NATO early on for the security in Kabul. And they started backing out with restrictions on what they would do, rules of engagement that were limiting. And America has taken the giant lead, as we all know, in Afghanistan. Germany has said right away, right up front, they're doing nothing in Libya. And so I think we do need to start looking at the overall importance of and effectiveness of these joint international training missions if, in fact, some of our allies participate and then sometimes they don't. The other point that I would ask you about, and I would ask both of you, is that Germany is notorious for not making much of an effort for the building programs that we do in country. Germany's contribution has been about $20 million per year of the overall $1.4 billion that we have spent in Germany between 2006 and 2010. That's less than 10%. And my question is, are you factoring those things in, and are you asking for more participation from Germany, such as, for instance, Japan does, and even Korea is doing more now? Are we also making this case with Germany, and are we looking at a long-term, whether, in fact, it is so much more expensive and maybe not as effective as we would like for it to be, to have these operations there when our allies don't seem to be stepping up in the major theaters like Afghanistan, certainly nothing in Iraq from Germany. How are you putting that all together, and are you asking for more of an effort, and are you looking at really carefully how much more we should be building in Germany and then eventually turning back to the Germans with very little effort on their part?
Yes, Senator, thank you. Yeah, that is a true statement. German host nation contributions are absolutely lagging from other host nations like Japan, Korea. I don't know how engaged we are in trying to turn that tide, but it is something that I would personally take on to see what else we can do. I think we need to ask. I think we need to probably solicit the help of the State Department and our ambassadors there to help us in that endeavor. So I absolutely concur.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate that response. I do, and I appreciate that you will be looking, Madam Secretary, at whether we really do go forward with some of this military construction when we look at the bigger picture of how many we're going to really have there and what is the effectiveness of it. So I thank you for saying you'll look at it, and I hope that you will. Thank you.
Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here today.